Well, welcome to the Aviation Insurance Podcast, where we're continuing to talk about the aircraft insurance fundamentals. And we've been discussing over the last number of episodes about how to read an aircraft insurance policy, its key sections. We've been using the acronym DICE, the declarations page section, the insuring agreements, conditions, exclusions, and we've talked about some specific exclusions. And then we've talked about a couple other sections. Well, really the definitions. And the last one that I really want to touch on a primary basis is the endorsements. And I may have alluded to this in one of the initial episodes on this topic, but an endorsement is anything that changes or amends the base policy. An endorsement can happen at any point, in the process of the policy being issued, during the policy at any point in time, and potentially retroactively to the after the policy happens, right? So what do endorsements, what do they do in general? So number one, they give additional coverage. Number two, they may take away coverage via a new exclusion. They meet regulatory needs by taking the policy and inserting words that make the policy compliant with different states. They basically evidence the coverage for anything changed in the middle of the policy period. So if you have an aircraft insurance policy, you could see endorsements for additional insureds, right? If you have a lien or a bank and they're an additional interest, that would probably be under the, you would see an endorsement evidencing that. You may see additional pilots or aircraft added after the policy was issued. You could see clarified exclusions for war risk and terrorism risk that we just talked about in recent episodes. You could also find in many of these policies a broad coverage expansion endorsement. Certainly for people that have adequate qualifications or basically experience in their aircraft, some carriers will offer a broad form expansion, which gives additional coverages and takes some of the coverages that were offered and makes it a little more broad. So that's a great endorsement to have, and it's a great endorsement to be able to find. But endorsements can give coverage. It can take it away. It can modify it. So once we read things in the insuring agreements, we have to be able to, and both coverage given and coverage taken away via exclusion, we do have to go and read those definitions to make sure that things are covered. And we have to look at the endorsements because coverage could be expanded, it could be changed, it could be taken away. So exclusions, as we talked about before, they happen all throughout the policy in different sections. There may be, like I said, a specific exclusion section. They may be in the insuring agreements. They may be clarified via the definitions of the conditions, and obviously via endorsements. So endorsements change the policy at any time, basically. It could be a part of the policy issuance process. It could be anytime during the policy period, and you could even see some potentially, in some rare circumstances, happen after the policy. And endorsements, once issued, attach to basically and become part of the insurance contract. Endorsements, even though issued later on, they become part of the insurance contract. So it's important to read those, to know what extra it gives, what it takes away, what it modifies, and to keep those attached. In many cases, that's going to be digitally to your initially issued insurance policy because they are now part of it. So endorsements are a section you will find. It's they're generally on the back end of a paper or digital policy. And again, you just add to them as the endorsements are added throughout the policy period and thereafter. Well, that's the kind of the end of the major sections of the aircraft insurance policy. They're all important, and knowing how to read it will help you really better understand what's covered and what's not covered. There's a lot of small things that it's important to get to understand, and hopefully as you get to look over these different sections, you'll have a greater understanding of what coverage you have for aircraft insurance. Well, that's all for this episode, and join us again next time as we continue navigating the waypoints in aviation insurance. Until then, enjoy clear skies and unlimited visibility.
Thanks for listening to the Aviation Insurance Podcast. If you found this episode of value, please share it with someone who would benefit from this information. Don't forget to subscribe in your podcast player so you don't miss any new episodes, and to help our show have more impact. This episode is brought to you by Aeris Insurance Solutions. your flight plan for navigating the turbulence of aviation insurance. For more information, visit aerosinsurance.com. That is www.aerisinsurance.com. Disclaimer. These episodes are for educational purposes only, and due to the changing regulatory and legal nature of the business, some information may change over time. Having a well-educated and experienced aviation insurance broker on your team is an absolute requirement to success in business and for managing your aircraft and aviation business risks.